Hello and welcome to another session with the Cyber Professor. Today we will be talking about the Linux operating system. As part of our review of operating systems course, we have divided our review in different sections. Today we will be dedicating our review to the UNIX operating system. At a later session we are going to review Windows operating system. Then we will proceed to Linux and we will finalize with the review of the Android operating system. Chapter 13 of your textbook maps to the discussion that we are conducting today in the review of the UNIX operating system. The four main topics that we are going to discuss today are the history of the UNIX operating system, a summary of the features of the UNIX operating system, how UNIX manages processor and memory, and finally the device and file management characteristics of UNIX. First, we are going to do a quick refresher on a description of computer systems. A computer is divided in four different layers. The hardware layer, which is the physical component of your computer, and that is made out of the processor, memory, and the input and output devices that you connect to your computer system, to your physical computer system. Next, we have the software components of the computer system, and there are three: the operating system, depicted in green, the libraries and utilities software, depicted in yellow, and the applications, which is the software that you as the user install on your computer systems. The last two components of the software are members of the software in the user space, and those are, again, the applications that you install as a user and the part of the operating system that is not considered the kernel, and those are the libraries and utilities. The kernel resides in the green section or green layer of your computer system. You as the user access the computer, which is again divided in four different layers, but you as the user see the physical device as the entire computer system. It is important for you to understand the different layers that are giving the computer that you are using the capability that allows you to access programs, access applications, and access data. Specifically, the UNIX operating system was developed in 1969 by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie at the AT&T Bell Lab Research Center in the US. It was originally written in assembly language and spelled UNIX, Uniplexed Information Computing System, or Service. It was later rewritten in C language and named as UNIX. The operating system was created by programmers and intended for programmers. Some of the features of the UNIX operating system it include the fact that it was originally created as a commercial distribution. Then, some UNIX operating systems became open source. With open source, users can modify the UNIX source code. Some of those free versions of UNIX include BSD and Linux. Some of the features of UNIX include portability, which is the ability of the software to operate from one machine to another, even though those machines have different configurations. UNIX allows users to transfer data from one system to another, regardless of their configuration. Another feature is the programming facility. Unix shell can be used as a programming or scripting language. It is multi-user. More than one user can use the machine simultaneously via the use of terminals. It is multitasking, meaning multiple programs can be run at a single time. Finally, it is multi-process. Each user can execute several processes simultaneously. Continuing with the features of the Unix operating system, we can say that it is hierarchical structure, meaning Unix directories are present like a tree structure to support the organization and maintenance of files. Unix allows communication between different users by providing some user information. Unix has system-level security, which is controlled by the system administrator. It also has file-level security, which is controlled by the owners of the files. Finally, it supports many of the tools, libraries, and utilities that help software development. There are 4 essential managers or subsystems in any operating system, including Unix, and those are the processor manager, the memory manager, the device manager, and the file manager. No single manager performs tasks in isolation. The user interface is the portion of the operating system with direct interaction with the user. 2 primary types are the graphical user interface or GUI and the command line interface. Unix management of memory is depicted in this slide. For multi-programming systems, most Unix operating systems use either swapping or demand paging, or both memory management techniques. Unix, when utilizing swapping, requires that the entire program be in main memory before it can be executed, and this imposes a size restriction on programs. The demand paging capabilities of Unix require more complicated hardware configuration. It also increases the system overhead and under heavy loads might lead to trashing. The Unix kernel, which permanently resides in memory, is the part of the operating system that implements the system calls to set up the memory boundaries so that several processes can coexist in memory at the same time. As far as the processor management by Unix, the kernel handles the allocation of the CPU and maintains several important tables to coordinate the execution of processes. 2 important tables used are the process table and the user table. The process scheduler selects a process from the ready queue and begins its execution for a given time slice. A profound strength of Unix is its true multitasking capabilities, as mentioned in the features slide. 3 important Unix commands that you need to remember are the fork, wait, and exec commands. As far as the device management features of Unix, Unix has an innovative feature in the treatment of devices. The operating system is designed to provide device independence to the applications running under it. When we say devices, we are talking about the devices that you are able to connect to a Unix computer. meaning a printer, a scanner, and those devices that are connected physically to a UNIX computer. The input-output system is divided into the block input-output system, sometimes called the structured I/O system, and the character input-output system, sometimes called the unstructured I/O system. Each device has a special section in the kernel called a device driver. Device drivers for disk drives use a seek strategy to minimize the arm movement. Finally, as part of the file management features of the UNIX operating system, there are three types of files that we need to mention. Directories is the first one, which is used by the system to maintain hierarchical structure. The second one is the ordinary files, files in which users store information. And the last one is the special files, device drivers providing interface for input-output hardware. Again, examples of the input-output hardware include printers, keyboards, mice, scanners, and so forth. Another characteristic of File Manager is the fact that it stores files as sequence of bytes and doesn't impose any structure on them. File names are case sensitive in the UNIX operating system, meaning whenever you assign a capital letter to a file name, that capital letter is considered completely different than the same lowercase letter. An uppercase A is considered different than a lowercase a in the UNIX operating system file management. Most versions allow up to 255 characters file names, but do not allow many special characters. With this, we conclude a quick summary of the UNIX operating system, mapping our discussion against the 4 different subsystems that we have been reviewing throughout this course: the file manager, the device manager, the processor manager, and the memory manager as the 4 important components of any operating system. Thank you very much. Until next time.